Hey guys, thanks for visiting us at Sister Night Podcast. Please don't forget to visit our Facebook and Instagram at Sister Night Pod. And you can follow us at our blog at sisternightpodcast.com. And now onto our show.
Welcome back to Sisters Night. Before we begin, I just want to apologize to everyone that was excited about the Mother's Day episode. I messed up the week, so I'm sorry. That is coming next week, so stay tuned for that. But welcome back, girls.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
I know. The week went by fast. But before we begin, I just wanted to let our listeners know that we're still figuring out what works best for our podcast. So today we decided that we wanted to try something a little different and switch up the format and see if we like it. So let us know what you think. At the end of the episode, shoot us a message on Instagram or send us an email and let us know what you think about this new episode. But we'll begin with the rest of the show. I wanted to talk about this show that is getting a lot of buzz lately. Have you guys heard of the 13 Reasons Why show on Netflix?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I've been hearing it all over the place, and Cleaver and I decided to hear what all the buzz was about, like find out for ourselves, and we sat down to watch it, and we pretty much binge watched it in like 3 days, and I am very excited and curious to hear what you guys think about this show and the topics. Cindy, did you watch any of it?
I was able to watch one episode, which is a pilot. It was very interesting, and it's a different take on bullying, modern day bullying, from what I saw from the first episode. So, yeah.
Ashley, did you get to see any of it?
I saw a little bit of the pilot. I did see the trailer, but I've heard so much about it on the radio, on podcasts, on TV, on my favorite blogs. This show is literally everywhere, and I'll definitely talk to you about why I didn't take the time to watch more of it. But go on and tell us a little bit more about the show.
Yeah, so for those that haven't watched it, I'm sure you've heard about it because it's been everywhere. The show, it starts off with our protagonist, who is a girl, Hannah. And in the first episode, in the pilot, we find out that she has killed herself. And she has created tapes. And has named 13 reasons why, or 13 people why, led her to that decision to commit suicide. So throughout the entire series, we find out tape by tape, which is person by person, the different circumstances that led her to take that decision. I just figured that since we're on the topic of suicide and teen bullying, that I'd ask you guys, what do you think about bullying? And have you experienced bullying yourself growing up?
Cindy, I'm going to let you go first.
I definitely think bullying is very prevalent. It was prevalent growing up for me, and it's still prevalent today as an adult, believe it or not. And I feel as though it is a huge issue that has kind of been scraped under. Like, I know there's more notice and more noise and more awareness to bullying, but I think people still poo-poo it,
Yeah.
They don't take it as serious as they probably should be taking it.
Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you asked me if I experienced it growing up. I definitely experienced it growing up because, as you both know, you're my sisters. We moved from Newark, New Jersey, which is an urban town, and we moved into the suburbs in Randolph. And when I moved to Randolph, it was a very hard transition, you know. Even I was probably 6 years old at the time, 7 years old, and there weren't a lot of Spanish or Hispanic people in the area at that time, and there is a town near Randolph that's mostly Spanish people called Dover, and I used to get a lot of bullying from one particular kid. I remember his name to this day. I'm not going to mention it. But he would be like, oh, you're Dover Rican, blah, blah, blah. Like, and, you know, at the time when you're a child, like, these things affect you because, and it was, in Randolph, for those who don't know, is a majority white, you know, white upper middle class town. Yeah. And we were the minority, for sure. And I feel as though it did affect me. You know, it did affect me. I have multiple stories of bullying, not only with the race, but also because I was a violin. I was like a nerd in school, and I was and I used to play the violin, and, you know, I wasn't cool, you know. And I remember one time, I'll tell you another story, when I was hanging out with my friend, I'm just going to call her D for now and not say any names, but I was hanging out with my friend D, and we went to the park, a nearby park where everybody was hanging out. I was a little older than 6. I was probably in high school by then, but I was still nerdy and played the violin. And we walked to the park, and her boyfriend at the time was older, and he was going to pick us up. And he said, she can't get in the car. You know?
No way.
Yes.
Why?
Because I wasn't cool. I don't freaking know. And he was like, oh, no, not her. I had to walk from, if you don't know where we're headed, it was a long walk.
Wow.
I was so upset.
That's awful.
Yeah, I mean, it's this really...
I didn't know that story.
Yeah, well, it's not something I'm very proud of, and, you know, I mean, but these things stay with you for many years, and I feel like bullying is so rampant, and it's out of control. I don't know if people do it consciously or maybe subconsciously, but it was like one of those, like, Mean Girls, like, she can't sit with us, you know, type of thing.
Awful.
Yeah, I know. Ashley, did you have any experiences like that growing up?
You know, I did. I definitely did from my peers, but there is one incident that always kind of resonates in my memory. You know, like when you look back and you think, oh my God, every time you think about it, it's almost like a haunting experience. And it definitely has affected me to this day. It wasn't a peer. It was my teacher. And it was in Randolph. I remember I was in kindergarten. It was like one of those half-a-day kindergartens. And Cindy's right. The town that we lived in was majority upper white class, a white Caucasian population, and we, including I was the one student of like color. I think it was me, and there's this one black girl named Cheryl. I still remember Cheryl. But Cheryl was actually came from a wealthy family. So not only was I minority, we weren't a higher upper class. And I remember I don't know if you guys know, like you guys obviously know, I get blisters on my lips whenever I feel like low immune system or like the weather changes. I always get like these cold sores on my lips ever since I was in kindergarten and young girl. And I remember Mom would send me to school with a little chapstick. And it was those Avon chapsticks that have a little tint on the lip. But I guess it was also like medicated. It was almost like that Carmex kind of a thing, but with a little tint. It was from Avon. And I remember I was in kindergarten, and Mrs. Johnson, this old white teacher, she was like, well, you're not allowed to wear lipstick. And she took the balm, like the little chapstick, away from me. I don't know if you guys know, but when you're all day without, or a couple hours without chapstick on your lip with a blister, it bothers you. It starts to hurt. It gets dry and like it hurts. And then I remember I went home, I told Mom about it, and she was really upset. She came over and like got into a heated discussion with Mrs. Johnson. And till this day, I feel very insecure about myself when I have like a blister on my lip. And I think it had more to do with the fact that, I was different from the rest of the class. It definitely felt like she singled me out. Nobody else. It's just such a silly thing to make a big deal about. So that is the one situation that I felt resonated with me, and it wasn't even a peer. So how about you, Maddie?
It's weird. Like, I went to high school and I wasn't popular by any means. I wasn't bullied. At least I don't feel like I was. But I also felt very lonely and like I was invisible. I didn't quite fit in, and I was really good at keeping to myself and not really making friends. And Mommy can attest to this, that I was always very lonely, and I always prayed. And I always prayed for a friend back in high school. So no one targeted me and said mean things per se, but I definitely remember feeling the isolation of high school and feeling different. And like, I think Ashley brought up the point, not only were we in a mostly predominantly white neighborhood, it was also an upper middle class neighborhood. So I feel like being not from, working class parents, that there was a lot of things that we couldn't participate in. That our peers did, which made us stick out, which is hard, I don't think we're materialistic people because of that, I think we learned to not have the flashiest things because our parents couldn't afford the flashiest things. But when you're a kid, you can't help but I remember feeling really embarrassed that I used to have the discounted lunches.
Yes.
And we lived in a town where people didn't need that. And, it was kind of like a dirty, like I had to like hand in my ticket kind of on the sly. I was embarrassed by it. So that was kind of my experience in high school. Not bullying per se, but not quite fitting in either.
The pressures of high school.
I know. I never go back. Trying to get a ticket to get one.
So in the show, going back to 13 Reasons, in the show, a lot of the bullying had to do with, some of it was slut shaming, but a lot of it had to do with social media. I can't imagine being a teenager in this day and age when social media, digital cameras, videos are at everyone's disposal. Like, if I was growing up during this time, I think it would have been a completely different ball game. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you didn't know already, this episode of podcast is a major spoiler alert for anyone who didn't watch 13 Reasons.
I know, right? We didn't even think of that.
But I think at this point, everyone knows that it's, they don't know all the components, but I think it's pretty known that it's about suicide and it's about bullying, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. I mean, if you say that it's known, then I haven't seen the trailer. I just saw the episode. But bullying can reach a greater audience is what I feel. You know what I'm saying? Because if you are friends, like social media, you can gather friends very quickly. And with kids nowadays, like even I have 600 and something friends, which is not a lot. But if you're a kid, and I remember one of my girlfriend's teenage daughters, she had over 1,000 friends on social media, and if something gets out, it's just like, it's like telephone, and the story twists and turns, and it can change, and it's just crazy.
And get tweeted and retweeted or remessaged, and it's crazy. Mm-hmm. I photographed a couple teenagers just throughout the years, and I'm always shocked at the amount of Instagram friends that they have. Like, we're talking about thousands of Instagram friends, like 2,000, 3,000. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Right.
Like, that's crazy. As a parent, I'd be nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the world's going to be like when Jonas grows up, but that makes me really nervous that you don't know in that sea of 3,000 people who's out there and who's looking to do some harm.
And not only that is that even if bullying is happening, it's on platforms such as Snapchat or Instagram stories where it expires. So if you can't go back and like read all these messages that are going through between kids or whatever, you have no evidence of it. So as a parent, you can't like check up on them, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can save it if the child saves it, but by the time, if let's suppose a child was affected by some sort of bullying or slut shaming, like in 13 Reasons, and the picture goes down, and, it's just, and it's also embarrassing for the child if the parent goes and, speaks up for the child, because it's just bringing more attention to that current issue,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Definitely.
I think that bullying has been a very widespread thing, even at work and in society for sure. And it's done so often. I think that people have found it to be even acceptable. I hate to say, at work, I don't know. In the hospital. I've worked in, now it's going to be 2 hospitals, but it can be very cliquish with the nurses and stuff. And you should see what they say about other people, other nurses. Awful. And, it's just crazy. And, I know everyone gossips and everyone talks, but there's mean-hearted things sometimes that are said, that it's just like, dang, like, I don't know. There's certain people that... The people that are the bullies, and I'm not a particular fan of bullying at all. If I don't like you, I don't want to talk to you. That's it. You know what I mean?
I agreed. Yeah.
I don't wish you harm. I don't care about you. You don't exist to me. That's it. Let's move on. But, there's something that comes... It has to be some sort of adrenaline that comes to bullies that makes them feel better about themselves. That they would...
By putting someone else down.
Yeah, that would be... Yeah, putting someone else down. Absolutely. It's crazy. But it's definitely something that starts maybe as a young child, or they do, they've seen it, or they've seen their parents do it, or they've grew up around that environment. Let's make fun of so-and-so. She's not part of the cool kids. And it definitely grows. Like, if you're not aware enough... And more mature enough to notice these behaviors, it'll follow you into adulthood, and
so talking about that, what modern day bullying tactics, taking it out of high school and out of grammar school, like what things do adults do that can be considered bullying? Whether in the workplace, whether out in, have you encountered bullying situations as an adult?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Countless. I can go on and tell countless stories about different bullyings that happened to me particularly. I don't know why. I think I'm a nice person. I don't know why people, may feel the need to be mean-hearted, but... not so recently, this is an older one, but I had another colleague, a work colleague, say to me, and I said this to you girls before in private, what's it been, Cindy, like 5 days since you washed your hair? Because for those that remember when we were talking about the curls, and when I do my hair straight, and curly hair is drier and it'll stay for a long time, you don't have to wash your hair that often, and I don't, my hair is very healthy, and she, my hair happened to be straight. And she came over, and it was like, 3rd or 4th day hair. And I don't care. I wear it. I don't mind. Like, I don't have to wash it just because, like, oh, what are people going to think I didn't wash it? No, I don't care. My hair looks good. I'm going to keep it like that. And she was like, what, Cindy, what's it been? Like 5 days since you washed your hair? And I just looked at her like,
I feel like that's so inappropriate.
It is so inappropriate.
I was like, I was like so mad. I was like in my head, of course, I didn't say this out loud, but I'm like, bitch, we don't have the same hair. Like, you know what I mean? I just wanted to, I don't know. I just had so many emotions going through me, but I was like, I don't know what I said, but I said something very cordial and just kept it light and kept it moving because she didn't deserve to have all my energy,
Yeah.
But that's one situation.
That is crazy. Then that's very inappropriate for the workplace. I just don't see why anyone would have the need in a professional environment to bring up your, like your hygiene or your, just, I don't know. Like, it's just a topic that doesn't seem appropriate for the workplace in any capacity.
Yeah.
Oh, but she and then it was done right at the nurse's station with everyone else there. So of course everyone else just stays quiet to see what my results are. Luckily, I have thick skin, and I've been a victim, you can call it, to bullying for years, and I just move on. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, Charlotte. I know, I just called you Charlotte.
Charlotte, Ashley.
Ashley, you had a recent experience with bullying in the workplace. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
I do. And before I say that, my recent experience, the one thing I do want to mention, in my experience, and I think I can speak for the most of us, the majority of the bullying that we've experienced, or I have experienced, ironically has been from other women. And I don't understand why we feel the need to be harder on women than anybody else, and that particularly bothers me. The other thing that I do notice, especially in the workplace, when you get bullied, it's always from someone who you're not even close with. You're like, why are you even talking to me? We're not cool. Like Cindy, that person who said that to you, do you even talk to them on a regular basis? Why do you think that it's okay to talk to me in such a manner? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't
definitely.
even talk to her like that. So moving on to what happened to me recently, my company, as I said in the last episode, is going through a turnover in company, in owner. So we're experiencing that turnover starting Monday. We're recording Tuesday, and I work in my department, in my floors, essentially. I work for two different departments, the inpatient and the outpatient. And I won't go into too much detail, but basically, there was some change in management. Before we were under one manager, and now we are separate. And when I went over to say goodbye and, just say bye for the day, two of the employees who I won't in the future will no longer be working with decided to ignore me as I said goodbye. One gave me like incredibly side eye, like really, really bad side eye, and didn't even say goodbye. The other one completely ignored me, didn't look at me. And I was like, okay, then, like, what happened? So I approached my supervisor and told her about it, and she said it was because of management. And I felt like, you know what? I'm so tired of other women, and I say women, but what
are you
really
on a better team? Is that the reason why? Like, are you on the better side of the team?
I wouldn't even say it's a better or worse side. It's just a different side.
It's different side.
It's just a different side. There's pros and cons
but
to each side.
Do you get to keep your old manager as opposed to receiving a new one? Is that maybe what it is? Or
yes, I get to keep the old manager, but they didn't even like the old manager. They actually really, really didn't like her. So, but my point is that that reaction has nothing to do with me. What they're upset about has nothing to do with me. Just like anytime somebody's bullying us, they're not really angry at us. They're angry at something else, but they need something to lash out on. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they need almost like a
punching bag.
Right, they need a punching bag, and it comes from a place of ignorance. And it's so annoying. And at least in my job, I feel as if the punching bags are the younger people. Because if we were to pull anything like that on an older employee, it wouldn't go down. It would not go down that way. And I totally resent that. I feel like at work, the younger generation is the punching bag for the people who are getting ready for retirement because they don't take us seriously.
Maybe they feel threatened. I think that they feel threatened that you're taking their job or whatever.
But how is it even possible? Because I'm not even in the same field. It's like I'm an administrative assistant and
not
you're a nurse.
excusing. Yeah. That's true. I mean, not excusing their disdain, like their behavior, but yeah, I think that's where a lot of the animosity comes in the workplace. I mean, I just saw it recently at my job too, where a 30-year person was laid off. Now, I don't know what the circumstances around it was, but I guess that it's a threat to they see younger people as a threat to their job. So that may be where some of the bullying comes from there. Not that it's excusable. At the end of the day, that's neither your fault or anyone else's fault. That's management's decision.
Yeah, exactly. So again, their behavior was out of a place of ignorance and possibly childishness, which is ironic because I'm the younger person out of the two. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I try not to take it personally, but it is annoying. If nothing else, it's annoying. Let's keep it professional. I know that when I come to work and there's things going on in my personal life, I am professional 110%. Even if I'm like getting out of the bathroom, I'm tear stained. The moment that I leave the bathroom, I'm work mode,
Yeah.
So
well, not everyone can.
Not
can
everyone
separate
can.
them.
Yeah, exactly.
Separate their emotions like that. But
how about you, Maddy?
In the workplace?
Yeah.
I hate to be like that. I haven't experienced...
She doesn't get bullied. She's perfect.
No, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. You know what it is with me? I don't engage with people the way you guys engage with people. And again, there's good sides to that and there's bad things to that. And I was thinking about this too. Like, why didn't I get bullied in high school? Or I wasn't involved. Like, we had very strict parents and mom was very strict. I didn't do any extracurricular activity. So I went to class, I came home, and that's about it. No one saw me outside of school hours. No one saw me at the parties. No one saw me at like games. So it's hard to get bullied when no one sees you around.
So is that how you are at work too? I mean, when I visit you at work, everybody says, "Oh, this is your sister." Like, it seems like you're very well known at your job.
Well, I've also been there for 10 years. So at some point, they gotta notice I'm there. But But I mean, yes, throughout the years, now later on, like I have reached out to people. I've led more people into my circle, but for the longest time, for many years, I kept that real close to the chest. Like I went to work, I kept my head down, I did what I had to do. I would leave at the end of the day. I wouldn't partake in happy hours. I wouldn't partake in all those extra things because I don't know. I feel like it can get messy, especially in the workplace because there's competition there too.
Yes.
And maybe it's like that in schools as well. People are competitive. People want to be better than another person. So some people are just better, and other people want to put other folks down to make themselves appear better.
Right.
So I feel like anytime you're in a situation like that where there's competition, there's gonna be bullies, people that are going to use those tactics in order to appear like they're at the top of their game. Mm-hmm. So right now I can't say I've experienced bullying. I am afraid though when Jonas gets a little bigger of bullying tactics with him, and also like with other parents, like mothers, and being involved in school things. Like, I'm afraid that may be an issue.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, my neighbor here, one of my neighbors here told me, has a young child, and told me that is a major deal here. Like, I don't know if here or if it's just anywhere, the bullying, or like, oh, you do that to your child, like, oh, and then, oh, my, like comparing and the competition, shaming, and getting into the schools and certain programs, and like, oh, I don't do that. Like, you raise your child like that? Like, what kind of mother would do that, And just like little things, like, I don't know. I mean, and you know what? It's crazy to think that, we're explaining situations that we're all adults and we're all in the workplace. So imagine what kids, which are much less, mature than adults, or should be much less mature, are dealing with now,
Yeah.
If we're
Absolutely.
dealing with,
exactly. You would think that if we're dealing with this later on in life, how about these kids that, like you said, maturity, they're not at that emotional maturity level. Mm-hmm. And for high school, I remember high school, I would never go back to high school.
Oh no, that was
I wasn't yeah, I wasn't bullied, but it was not a pleasant experience. And I just feel that for kids, though, when they're that age, it just feels like that is the end all be all. High school is it. Like, they can't see past high school. And it's such a short blip in the radar of life, but it's so monumental. I feel like it shapes who we are today. Like, do you guys think that your experiences in bullying have changed who you are as a person? Like, maybe had you not been bullied, you'd be a different person?
I feel like, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I feel like if my bullying experiences in high school and in, middle school, elementary school were vast and very great. And after high school, I went through a period of wanting to fit in. I was so not able to fit in school years that when I got out of high school and I was in college years, I wanted to fit into a group. So, for instance, if I made a friend with a Dominican girl, I remember, let's call her C, but I made a friend with her and I just was like, all into that. Like, I was still so immature, I wasn't sure of myself, because clearly if people don't think I'm cool enough, then I must not be cool enough, and then I must change to be a certain way. And then I went through a different phase, you know what I mean? Like, I went through different phases where I wanted to be like, super Spanish and Dominican, and that didn't work out for me. And then I wanted to be super ghetto, and like I had all black friends, and that's not where I fit in. And then I went, and hung out in Jersey City, and I had my jersey. No, I didn't fit in there either. Eventually, as the years passed on, I realized, what? Who the hell am I kidding? Like, I am who I am. I'm a nerd. I'm a glam girl. This is who I am, and I should just embrace it. But it's taken me 30 years to figure that out, from like 18 to, well into my 20s. I think, my mid-20s, I was still struggling with that, so...
Well, definitely. Ashley, what about you? Like, do you feel that your bullying experiences have changed or shaped who you are today?
I feel that my bullying experiences have only just begun. Like, I thought I had it at, in child age, and if anything, my experiences getting bullied made me a little more soft-spoken or a little more timid. I'm not a big confrontational person, but I'm still being bullied, like I said, at work, and in the position that I want to aspire to be in my job, I need to learn how to stand up to these bullies, even if it means being a slightly confrontational to someone who's an who's older than you. Just because you're older than me doesn't mean that you have the right to treat me a certain way. And I have a long way to go in that regard, because I want to be in management, and I will be in the position where in a confrontation with someone who is under me, but who is older than me, and I will need to stand up and stay strong to the point that I am trying to make, because that would be what we, how this office or this facility works. And that's something that I know that I have to do, and I have to just kind of grab the balls to do it. And it's something that's affected me, but I'm working on it every day. I choose my battles wisely, because you don't want to go out there swinging for every little thing, obviously.
I
but
agree.
You have to choose your battles wisely. And also I practice a little bit of not engaging in them either. After that whole little incident at work, I'll probably keep my head down and keep to myself. They're clearly they're going through whatever they're going through. It has nothing to do with me. So I'm just gonna let that one go. But again, choose your battles wisely, don't engage unless you have to engage. And then when it is time to engage, make sure you stay strong and to your point and say, listen, I'm not going to let you affect me. This is who I am. This is the work that I do, and I'm professional, and this is how we're going to act here,
Yeah,
I definitely don't think that fighting fire with fireworks. If someone treats me a certain way, I'm not going to turn around and treat them a certain way. That would just bring me down to their level. And, that's just not a good idea for anyone who encounters bullying. I found it to be better just to be like, I can't hear you. You know what I mean? To literally take that approach and be like, I really can't. And if they go, I just kind of ignore it. It does bother me, but I pretend like it doesn't and just keep on, Or if it does bother me to that extent, I will take a private meeting with them, take that actual person, pull them to the side and be like, that's not cool. I'm not cool with what you just did. I'm a more confrontational person than Ashley, so that's how I resolve issues, but but if you take it into a private setting, not in front of everybody, because most bullying, if you realize, gets done in public. You know what I mean?
It's very true, for attention.
To make
or
you
reaction.
Right, to make you feel low, and then everybody else is like, ha ha ha, and then they feel, a instant gratification of, oh yes, I won this battle, I'm cool now. No, you're not. I'm gonna take you into this corner and bring you down to the, you know what I mean, and let you know.
Down a couple notches.
Bring it down a couple notches, exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of my topic. If it's a battle I need to fight, that's how I go about it, but... it's just incessant. It doesn't stop, and it really is a major problem.
In my case, even though I don't feel like I experience outward bullying like that, where I feel that has shaped me is that I'm like Charlotte. I'm not good with confrontation with people. Even when I need to speak up for myself, I have a very hard time standing up to people and saying how I feel. So I feel like it's negatively impacted me a bit. I wish I kind of, not that bullying is something to wish for.
Not at all.
But I feel that it gives you, if you can overcome it, it gives you some skills on how to deal with bullying types later on in life, even in the workplace, because bullies bullies grow into adult bullies.
Yes, they do.
Right. So you're going to continue having to deal with people like this throughout your entire life. So for me, I would like a little more experience with having confrontation and standing my ground, because lately, not in the workplace, but in other areas of my life, I've felt the need to stand up for myself, and I don't know what's stopping me. And I need to be better about that. And like I said, maybe had I had some of those tough experiences, I would already be a pro at standing my ground. Yeah. But that doesn't mean I can't learn now later on in life, right? But yeah, one more question before we wrap this up. This was a great discussion today. Any advice that you guys have for any of our listeners or any kids, any adults that are experiencing bullying? I know we got some really good nuggets before, but any last words that you want to leave behind for anyone that's going through that experience?
I do. And I want to circle back to the show.
13 Reasons Why?
Yes, 13 Reasons Why. And I want to say that the reason why I'm not even interested in talking or looking about this show really is because I feel as if Hollywood has taken something. I feel like the Hollywood's intentions are in the right place where they want to shed some serious light on bullying, but what they have done is almost glorified this girl's suicide attempt. So it's not even focusing on the tragedy that this girl has died, but it's basically her little fuck you to all the people who supposedly had a part in her death, when in reality she's the one who took her own life. And that's a bigger lesson that I feel that we need to take home, because from a point where I was a young girl in high school and I felt, to a point where I didn't want to live anymore, because when you're in high school, these things feel like the absolute end of the world. You don't even think that you're going to be 20 years old one day,
God forbid, 20 is like old as hell.
20 is so old. You think that that's the complete end of the world, and I think that the lesson that the generation that is watching this show, which concerns me, is that the only responsibility in the end of the day, nobody pulled the trigger, nobody put a noose around your head, you did. And if you felt like that these people did that to you, it's because you allowed them to do that to you. You know what I mean? In the end of the day, these people in our life who bullied us and affected us the way that we grew up and it shaped our character, it's because we have allowed them to shape our character this way. You know what I mean?
So you're saying don't look at it from a victim mentality, strike back.
Not just strike back, but don't let it affect you. I want to say, for me, if I had an advice for my younger self, this isn't the end of the world. These people lashing out at you, maybe singling you out, or making you feel as if you're less than they are, they're insecure, and it really has absolutely nothing to do with you. And just keep doing what you're doing, and don't ever let anyone make you feel as if you don't belong to live and breathe on this earth, because at the end of the day, you're the one who's dead and they're still living.
Going back to that point about the FU to the people that bullied her, and that's why she killed herself. I think that's something that the show, like you said, glorified, because the reality is, if you die, life does go on.
It
I
sure
think
does.
we've had several people in our life pass away, not suicide, but for health reasons in the last few years. And as much as you miss them, life goes on. So I think that's where the show missed the mark, because the girl, and again, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but you're not exacting revenge on your enemies by killing yourself, because their life is going to go on. The only way, the most, they'll think about you maybe for a day, maybe two, and then they're going to go back to living their lives. So suicide is definitely not the solution, especially not getting back to your bullies, I think to make light of this situation, do as Beyonce say, best revenge is your paper, right? Mm-hmm. Do what you have to do. Be successful. Keep doing the best that you can. And that to me is the best revenge for your bullies.
Absolutely.
That they can, they can look back at you and see what you've become. Mm-hmm. And you can throw it back in their face. So... Do as Beyonce says.
I guess my takeaway advice would be, to those that have experienced bullying or that are experiencing bullying, is that to know that no matter what, you are unique. There is no one else in this world that is exactly like you. Everything from, the head on your hair to your DNA, each strand of DNA, you are unique and you are special. And this is something that that George, our father, used to say to me all the time. You are special. You are unique. And at the time, I didn't realize why he was saying that, and I couldn't understand it. I'm like, all right, like, knock it off with the sappy things, But at the same time, I think that no amount of bullying can, like touching on what Ashley said, can decrease your worth. Your worth is so magnificent because you are the only one that, was created to be exactly the way you are. And that is the way it should be. You know what I mean? The way you are, whether it's with your quirks, whether it's with whatever it may be, that's the way it was intended to come out into this world, and that's how you should value that. And bullies, they're miserable people. They're going to continue bullying. They're going to not only bully you, they're going to talk crap and about everybody else, and that's what gets them off. Don't be on their wavelength. Rise above their wavelength. Be better than them. And that's it. I mean, that's all I think all you can do.
Amen. I think that's wonderful advice.
Yeah. I mean, thank you. I mean, coming from a person that has been there and has been treated really horribly at times, and here I am today, and my bullies are probably looking like, how the hell, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that you are unique and valuable, and no matter what, and the person next to you is unique and valuable too. They have things to bring to the table as well. Each of us have our own individual talents and traits to bring to the table. So
yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. I think this was an awesome discussion. I think we only began to scratch the surface of this topic of bullying. Whether you love the show, or whether you disliked it, or whether you refused to watch it like Charlotte, I hope that we continue to talk about stuff like this, and that we keep addressing the topic of bullying, because it is taking too many lives. It's taking too many young lives, and it just needs to stop. So thank you so much, girls. I really enjoyed the discussion today.
Yeah.
Thank you. So did we.
Thank you.
So for our listeners, if you like what you heard today, please give us a shout out on Instagram. Send us a message. Let us know what you think of today's show, if you like this format. And don't forget to rate us on iTunes. Pop in there, write us a review, tell us what you like. Tell us what you think of the show, and we really, really appreciate it. If you have any questions and you want us to tackle some advice questions for you guys, send us an email at sisternightpodcast@gmail.com and visit our website, www.sisternightpodcast.com. So that's all for tonight. We have a very special Mother's Day episode coming next week, and good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.